It had always been on like my Pinterest board when I was younger. And then the tour guide's like, those are not coconuts. We jam-packed those 13 days, Sarah, with like every excursion under the sun.
We stayed like 6 nights in jungle and then 6 nights in a beach, and then we had an Airbnb in between that was a little more private.
And even their McDonald's was so like, their menu there was so different. Here's, let's put your leg over your neck. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this.
I think it's a balance of, you want the good photos, but like more so you want to capture the memories of things you're actually doing.
Yeah. We had a low that was a very low low. Some of them you're actually in the waterfall in the rock beds like ATVing. I should put on a life jacket.
Yeah.
They're like, no life jacket, you don't need a life. And we're like, what? I feel like we just got the best of both worlds.
We did.
Welcome back to the How Was Your Trip podcast, where we unravel the world one interview at a time. We have officially started season 2, and I am so excited to be back. I have missed recording. I have missed talking to people about their travels, and I have missed making podcast episodes for you guys. So let's jump in today with Karris and Joe. They are an amazing couple that I have been chatting with online for a few months, and they got married earlier in 2024 and honeymooned in Bali. They spent time in both the jungle and the beach, and they had adventures every single day for 2 weeks. So let's jump in with Karris and Joe and chat about Bali. Karris and Josiah, welcome to the How Was Your Trip podcast. So excited to have you guys on. It's a long time coming.
Yes.
I know we've been talking for a few months.
Yes.
So I'm glad to finally have you on. You guys got married this past year. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
And then you guys honeymooned in Bali, which I cannot even describe to you how jealous I am. So when did you guys get married?
So we got married July 19th. It was a summer wedding. And then we left for Bali a couple weeks after. We had a lot of friends and family get married like right after us. So we waited for those weddings, and then we left in August to Bali. Yeah.
Nice. Do you feel like that was like a really good time to go to Bali or no?
Yes. I mean, you did a lot of the planning. So like he kind of was tracking like what the weather would be like and like if it would be super touristy. But I think even if it was somewhere else, having that break right after you get married, you just kind of like, sometimes, I mean, it works, whatever works for other people, but I enjoyed not having to jump on a flight right away, have like a 30+ hour travel day. I enjoyed settling into our new home together and then like having a couple weeks and then looking forward to our honeymoon a couple weeks later. So yeah.
Yes, I've heard that's like the way to do it.
Yeah.
I've heard like give yourself some time. We did not do that just because of our calendar and our work schedules. We couldn't do it.
Right.
But I've heard that it is so ideal if you can take time to rest and then
so much
travel.
less stressful. I
Yeah,
felt like
for
the
sure.
time to pack and actually plan. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know where Bali is, what Bali is, can you guys kind of give an overview of Bali before we go into y'all's specific trip?
Yeah, you want me to take it on? Yeah, it's just an island located in Indonesia. It's north of like Australia, maybe like a 5-hour flight, something like that. So it's a popular destination
For
Australians for vacation. It's kind of like
our Mexico.
Yeah, our Mexico, or in the Midwest, our Florida.
And how long did it take you guys to get there? What was y'all's route?
It took, and I'm not a big flyer, and so this was one thing that was like, where are we going? Oh, we're going to Bali. That's the farthest you could possibly go. And so like I was really nervous about the flights because I get vertigo. And so I was like, this is just gonna be like 2 days of, horror for me. But it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was 30+ hours of travel, but we had a layover in Taipei, Taiwan. And then it wasn't very long, just a couple hours. Then we went from there to Bali's capital. So, and then on the way back, we had 2 layovers. So it was 30+ hours if you take like the layovers and then the taxi, all the way to
it was a lot of traveling.
To our first
I mean, even just to get to the airport was like, a 2.5-hour drive, and it's like another hour and a half through security, TSA, and then you finally, so it was, collectively probably 30+, like she said. It was a lot of traveling.
And that was, I'm guessing, like the furthest you guys have ever traveled.
Yeah. I told her, I said, if we make it to Bali, that'll be the furthest we'll ever like theoretically go. So we can make it anywhere.
So why Bali? Why did you guys like not that much travel, at least not very
Yeah.
far, and then you're like, okay, let's jump all in, go to Bali.
I was like, oh, what if we just do like Mexico or something? I was like, let's do Bali. I'm like, what's Bali? And then it's like, yeah, on the other side of the globe. But
I love it.
I
I so love it.
me too. And I'm really glad we did that. But yeah, I mean, the travel was crazy. But well, I specifically wanted to go to Bali because it had always been on like my Pinterest board when I was younger. Like when we met each other, we were like talking about how we both love and we have a passion for travel. And like Bali was both on each other's lists. And so then we were just kind of like, okay, why not? Like, let's make a 2 week or a little bit more honeymoon out of it. Yeah, and Josiah, we didn't do a travel agent or anything. Josiah is such like the detail-oriented type. I am not like a good planner, and so he just took care of everything, did all of his research.
A lot of
So,
research,
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. What, Josiah, how did you go about planning it? Like how, like obviously you guys kind of, it sounds like you guys decided on Bali kind of together, but it sounds like it might have been your
Yeah,
Yes,
idea.
it was.
And
yeah,
It was
yeah.
his.
No,
so how did you go about planning such a long trip to a place you haven't
yeah,
been?
that's a good question. Honestly, the short answer is Google. The long answer is I talked to a couple other people who'd been there. They gave me some tips, but most of it was just Googling. I watched some YouTube videos to kind of get some general ideas. Obviously, you have social media, so people give you some tips and stuff like that. But as far as actually planning like where we're going to stay, our flights, it was just probably like a week of just every night I was just doing research, trying to figure out where the best places were to stay. And then as you'll find out, we split it up into multiple different locations. And I think that was a really good thing. I'm glad we ended up doing that. And that only came through me doing research and understanding the geography of the island and different climates and things to do. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely,
because it's both beach and jungle,
yes,
right?
yep. And that's,
Okay.
we stayed like 6 nights in jungle and
Mhm.
then 6 nights in a beach. And then we had an Airbnb in between that was a little more private. So
Yeah, yeah.
it worked out really good.
So how many days total?
So I believe
13.
13 or 14.
Yeah, if you include flight
Just with all
time,
the
it was
traveling,
more than
it was
that. But
probably over that. But when we were in Bali, yeah, 13 days.
And what was your, like, give me a general overview of your itinerary of like where you went, and then we'll dive into like what you
Okay,
actually did
perfect.
there.
you want me to take?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we arrived in the capital there, and then our driver took us up to Ubud, which is further north in the island. It's more in kind of like the jungle area, as you alluded to. And so we arrived there in the evening, and we stayed at a resort called Padma Resort Ubud. Again, just based on a bunch of research, had lots of reviews, looked like a very nice place. And for Bali, like the nicer resorts are still, by American standards, super cheap. So like their nicest resort is like in terms of cost, like your average resort you get
In
in
America,
the States.
yeah,
So
the
That's
prices
so
are
um,
amazing.
awesome.
so we got to stay at a very, yeah, it was amazing. We'd recommend it to anyone. So we stayed there for 6 nights. And then, like I said, we stayed up in Ubud at an Airbnb I had found. We got transportation to it. And then from there, we went down south to Nusa Dua, which is a more coastal city
Yeah,
area,
the beach.
closer to Penida Island, which was one of the excursions we wanted to go on later on. And then we stayed at Ayodhya Resort. So kind of weird pronunciations,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
and
and
that was right on the coast.
more like secluded in the jungle. It was very
Mhm.
like, it just felt super like safe. We didn't see a lot of people like staying at the hotel. It was just very private. And then Ayodhya,
Much
the one at
bigger.
the beach was a lot bigger. You met like a bunch of different families vacationing, and it was like right on the beach. So I feel like we just got the best of
Yeah,
both
we did.
worlds.
Yeah, it worked out really
And
good.
then we
Yeah,
had the
I feel like
Airbnb.
when I was looking through your socials, I feel like when I saw you up in the jungle, I feel like that's normally what I see and think of as
Yes.
Hmm.
Bali. And even some of your beach pictures, I couldn't look at those and be like, that's
Yeah.
Bali. Like
Yes.
it looks so, would it,
Yeah.
is it technically like still
Hmm.
in Bali,
Yep.
or is it,
Yes.
Yep.
okay, so it's all on the island
Yeah.
of
Yes,
Bali.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
We stayed on the island. We did travel. They have an island which Joe referred to as
Penida Island.
Penida, and that's like the picture.
Yeah.
Like you see that on the
That's
laptop,
the iconic photo with the
like the island kind of shaped like a sea, and it's
Uh-huh.
just a
little trail
beautiful,
going
yeah,
down to it. Yeah.
beautiful. So we just did that for a day excursion, but we didn't stay on the island. But you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Okay, so
beautiful.
speaking of photos, I I feel like I see a lot. Well, yes, your photos are gorgeous. All of them, the content creation, I love it. I cannot wait to share all of it. I've heard that Bali specifically with content creators, like the lines, even just to
I'm
get
so
the
glad you're bringing
spots.
this back.
Yeah.
Well, not even the tourists. It was more of the actual like tour guide. So the Balinese people, they they want your phone. They want to like zoom, pan up, do these weird. They're like, get in line, girl. Like, don't like what
Yeah.
are you doing? Like, you're
Yeah.
almost pushed to content create. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do a slow pan. He goes, no, give me the phone.
You a photo?
He's
Photo?
like, yeah, he's like diving in. He's like doing this weird pan. I'm like, wow, they take this very seriously. So I was like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of fun picture opportunities, but it was more so like the people around us were like grabbing our phones, trying to get the angles for us, and we're like, some of these angles are not our type of,
Yeah.
not something we would
Yeah.
post. But yeah, so they're really into that. Now, the lines for certain things were pretty long. Like, that iconic swing picture where they're swinging over the rice terraces. Like, we didn't do that, just super long lines. And then,
And there's a lot of swings as well.
yeah, there's a lot of different
Yeah.
things like that. But we tried to kind of avoid those and do like more private stuff. We did do this like elephant photo op where we got in their watering hole with them. Like, we took a bath with them essentially, which is very gross. Like,
It was nasty. Yeah, we had to take a shower after.
but that was really fun. And so like we did do like the more popular excursions, but we tried to not get in those big lines of like for the swing or for like certain hike picture points,
Yeah, I think it's a balance, especially if content creation isn't like your full-time job. I think it's a balance of you want the good photos, but like more so you want to capture the memories of things you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you guys did a really great job of that, of like creating beautiful memories, but not just standing in a line to get that shot,
We tried to just plan the excursions and then have the photos follow instead of the other way around. Because like I love creating, and it's not my full-time job, but Josiah is more of a live in the moment type, like, okay, let's just take it all in, like no screens. And so we
like, but I want the memories.
So balancing that out, and I think it was
it worked out. It was like Doorway to Heaven or something like that, some iconic
Yes.
photo
Heaven's
where
Gate.
Heaven's Gate, that was interesting. Is there's, I guess, multiple different Heaven's Gates in Bali. So we went on the island I mentioned, on Penida Island, and we stopped at this place for lunch. And lo and behold, there was essentially the equivalent of Heaven's Gate right on the island,
But no one
overlooking
was taking
the ocean,
photos
and no
of
one
it.
was there.
And we're
And
like,
so
it looks the same. Let's just get
I
a
know,
photo.
and we got a photo, and we talked to a couple who had been in line for hours the day before for a photo, and they were like, "This is the exact same thing." So,
That's
I know, we got lucky sometimes by getting good iconic photos without having to
wait in line.
wait in lines.
So what were y'all's excursions like?
Yeah, we tried to. So we had a honeymoon. I had a honeymoon in my head originally of like laying on the beach, like just like soaking it all in, not doing much. And we did the complete opposite. We jammed packed those 13 days, Sarah, with like every excursion under the sun that we thought was up our alley. So
Seriously,
so there was no resting. There was like we enjoyed the beach.
except when I was down.
Yeah, and when Josiah got sick, which we'll talk about later, but we really try to fit as much in as possible. So, I mean, we could just start from the first excursion we went on, which was this like, it was
The temple
excursion. So we did our Padma resort, gave us like a car with a driver, and he took us around the different temples, and we got to meet some of the locals. Yeah, this was just very like
the
we're
rice
driving on the
terraces.
streets. We're just like looking at the store shops on the streets.
Went to the rice terraces after that.
We went to the rice terraces for a little bit, and
Coffee place.
oh yeah, and we did a coffee place.
Which you should tell her about,
There's this like really expensive coffee that a lot of people actually DM'd me. We're like, oh my goodness, did you get this coffee? And I had no idea what they were talking about. I was like, I'm a coffee drinker, but I didn't seek out this when I went to Bali. We just happened to end up here on that like Ubud excursion we were doing. So this coffee is made from these cats from these cat poop from cat poop.
Cat poof coffee.
Cat poop coffee. There's a male and a female version. And
you're kind of losing me here.
They were losing me. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we sifted out It's basically this animal that looks, it's like a cross between a raccoon and a possum, and they just
Yeah, that's
call
what
it
it
some
looks
type
like
of
at least.
And you drink it?
Yeah, and you drink it.
they take and it feeds on the coffee plants that are planted in the jungle, and then it disposes of them. Then the Balinese people take the waste, they sift it out, and they press it into coffee. And this is like a gourmet treat.
Yeah.
Like this is like top of the line,
Wow.
male, female versions of
Yeah.
this. And we're drinking this and we're like, what? It's
Yeah.
disgusting. I thought it was I was like, it's just like super strong. Like there's no, like I like my coffee very sweet.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is gross.
Yes.
But people go there for that, to buy that, because it's this like delicacy. I'm like,
Josiah, you didn't like it either?
I convinced myself it was good because we were there, so I drank the whole thing, but
kind of fit in.
it didn't taste that good, to be honest.
I have never heard of that. That is so
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah.
really good without hearing about it.
Yeah, but they did have other coffee there that was really good, so I definitely recommend if you go
Yeah, they have a
trying
lot
their
of-
different local
Yeah,
coffees.
really good teas. And so
Get
we
avocado coffee, that's super good.
that one was, yeah, we were leaving that in the store.
I will say, I went to Africa and they do like giraffe dung spitting contest. And I did participate because it's like when you're there and people do it, and I made them do it first. I was like, you're not messing with me as the American. Like, you're doing it.
It's funny.
I get it. Like, I'm not judging you because I'm like, when you're there and it's their culture, you just want to experience
And they're
it,
excited
you
about
know?
it. Our tour guide's like, yeah, you'll like. I was like, we won't like.
No, one and done.
Yeah.
So then we did that.
I mean, there's so many excursions, so I don't know how much time you want to spend in this.
Maybe give me like your top three,
Okay,
your top
yeah.
five.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we loved.
Maybe top
We
two.
did have when we did go to Ayodhya Resort on the beach. We loved going to Nusa Penida Island. It was beautiful. We did a snorkeling excursion. It was all day. We went to 3 different snorkel spots. We saw turtles, manta rays,
Coral reefs.
bunch of different fish, coral reefs, and we're on like a catamaran ride. And we just spent the whole day sailing around that island, and we stopped on the mainland to eat a little bit. And yeah, that was just beautiful. The waves at the first location that we went snorkeling were very,
Choppy.
yes, a lot of people were getting sick. There's like a girl that was on her boat and she was throwing up, and I was like, Josiah, I can't do this anymore. So I thought it was going to be kind of a rough day. But once we sailed, kept sailing around the islands, these different coves, like we were actually able to enjoy it.
And on that note, there's a funny story. So this group of people took us out. There was 2, 3 like guides, and so we finally arrive at this place where we're supposed to see manta rays. Well, it's a very popular destination, and there's a lot of people. So we have like a code word for when we get in the water that we're supposed to call if you get lost. And so what was ours? Like,
yes, 'cause there's a lot of different excursions happening at once. So you're like swimming over other groups
Yeah.
of snorkelers.
like Lady Mary or something like that. So anyways, so we or Sweetheart, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was
So then-
Sweetheart. It's like, call out Sweetheart if you get
Yeah.
lost.
So anyways, we arrived there. There's like literally probably 100 other boats. It's just crowded. They dive into the water. All of us follow them. Yeah, no life jackets, no like training. They just like the whole group gets in. This is wild. So I wouldn't recommend this to like young families, which we were with.
Snorkel stuff. And even Josiah was like, it's kind of choppy. I'm going to put on, like, I should put on a life jacket.
Yeah.
They're like, no life jacket. You don't need a life jacket. And we're like, what? Like, you don't.
not only supporting them, just completely
It's like,
encouraging
they
you.
Yeah.
literally were like helping push us in the water. Like,
Yeah, in some locations. Yeah.
That's fine, but it's like, good thing we can swim.
I know.
Then we were able to like break away from all that. Like that was the hot spot because it was the manta
Yeah.
sightings. And then we went into like
More
of the
secluded,
cove
yeah.
and were able to like just be us and
Waters were calmer, warmer,
yeah.
and
So that
So
was a
fun.
really like that was probably my favorite excursion just because we were out on the water all day. I loved the elephant one, so we took an elephant bath. We got to ride on them, and then they would get in the water, and like we'd go kind of underwater with them. Like our heads would peek out of the water, but the elephants themselves would be
That is
submerged.
Mhm.
Cool.
And me and Josiah, I remember a funny story. Me and Josiah, like, I was riding on it. I'm like, Josiah, there's giant coconuts in the water. Like how big these coconuts are. And then the tour guide's like, those are not coconuts. And I'm like, oh my word, I'm looking around. And the more like I'm realizing that this isn't just a water hole, it's like their bathroom. And
This
I
is where they
probably
live,
will get an
yeah.
infection after this. But it was so cool because like we had seen elephants and like been to the zoo, but actually being able to like ride on them without really like we didn't have someone on the back, it was just like you and the elephant.
Just you.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
Josiah, did you have any different favorites, or would you say that those are probably your tops
Those,
as well?
yeah, those are probably in my top like 5 for sure.
Mhm.
I would say the other one that I really enjoyed was the ATV excursion. So we got ATVs and we spent maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours driving them around through like this jungly area. And there was this one section that was kind of a funny story where my ATV was breaking down because we were in this like watering hole circle. We just kept doing circles around it.
Yeah.
And it got like waterlogged anyway, so like my thing wasn't working or my ATV wasn't working. And so this random guy pulls up and is like, hop on. And he's this young dude. So I get on and I'm missing for like maybe
Yeah, I'm freaking out because I'm on my four-wheeler and I'm like going down these like waterfalls because at some of them you're actually in the waterfall in the rock beds, like ATVing
That
through
is
that.
It was
insane.
crazy, yeah.
That's so fun.
It's absolutely gorgeous. But I look behind me, Josiah's not
I've been
there.
missing, yeah, because my
His
ATV broke down.
is, like,
Yeah, so like the group is like waiting for me. And here I come with this stranger just like plowing through the water. And they're like, stop, stop. And we do another loop around. They're like,
at
where
that
are
point
you
they're
going?
just teasing us. But I could tell
Yeah.
because
But
he loves stuff like that.
yeah.
And, yeah, and I was a little nervous because I'm not a big four-wheeler like dirt bike type person, but we had
Mhm.
fun doing
But
that.
For the most part, did people speak English there?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. I mean, you had a lot of different accents because of like Australians, New Zealanders, you had people from the UK. We honestly, Sarah, didn't run into that many Americans. I don't think we met another American couple. It was
I
all
mean, it's hard to get there.
Yeah.
yes.
Like,
And
Yeah.
I think that's
you
mainly
know?
why. But I was surprised because I was like, oh, we're definitely going to see other Americans at the
Mhm.
resort. And we didn't.
Mhm.
And we just didn't. And I was like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, but we made a lot of friends
So
with other people and got to hear their stories. So that was really good,
Yeah.
but just surprising.
That's fun. And then for transportation, I feel like everyone that I see takes motorbikes in Bali. Did you guys take cars or
Yes.
did you take
So yeah,
Cars.
motorbikes?
that's really common. But and Josiah was researching, and it's just dangerous to just to just take a moped by yourself. Like, there's been a lot of tourists and even like the taxi drivers will tell us, like, those tourists do not know how to ride those mopeds. Like, there's been a lot of accidents. We were trying to get
Yeah.
through this accident free. So we just took, it's not Uber, but it's,
They've got Gojek and Grab. And then we
Yeah.
also had our resort drivers who would take us places as well.
and that was great.
Did you have a resort driver at both resorts?
Yes,
Mainly at the first one.
mostly the first one. And honestly, one thing I would tell people is people there, like their whole economy runs off tourism. So you will meet people and they will want to be your driver. So
Yeah.
after
It
you're there for a
wasn't a
few
problem.
days, it won't be a problem. You'll meet
Yeah.
people and
And they'll want to be your driver again. So they'll be like, okay, well, you call me when you need me again. And so it's like we're not
That's so
having
sweet.
to,
yeah.
Uber the same driver or Uber a different driver. It's, we'll know someone, we'll get comfortable with them, and then we'll call them if we need them again. So very
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
people.
I will say, I'll probably made the smart decision with the motorbikes. I did them in Asia
Oh,
did.
once,
wow.
and it was a part of Asia that didn't have a lot of real roads. A lot of it
Mhm.
was dirt, and so it felt safe then
Yeah.
because I didn't have to like stay in a lane and do real
Mhm.
turns. But this year, I went to Bermuda with some
Oh my
friends, and
goodness.
we rented bikes, and it was so
Chaotic.
dangerous.
Yes.
They had like roundabouts, could not figure those out. Like
Oh my
I ran up on the
goodness.
curb. Like it was not safe at all. Like
Yeah.
and the locals were not happy.
Yes.
And like I felt so bad. I had this one idea of what riding a motorbike was like, and this like I was so wrong. I
Yeah,
was so
you
wrong.
could tell they would much rather prefer you to use a taxi because it's so congested there
Mhm.
already
Yeah.
that like the tourists are just making it worse to try and get from point A to point B because they don't know they're not used to the no traffic laws
Mhm.
essentially. So
Yes, right.
yeah.
And even with
Right.
their version of Uber, you can get a bike and just like hop on the back. There's people who will take you around, but we always chose an
I think that was
enclosed
Yeah.
vehicle. I think it was a good decision. It was chaotic enough with that, so.
So it sounds like you guys had a lot of highs. Did you have any lows on the trip? I think I heard Josiah got sick
yes,
at
Sarah,
some
we had a low that was a very low low. So we go out to a restaurant. This is our third
Padma.
night in Bali. So we just got there. We've like got to the Padma Resort. We're meeting people. We're like planning out our excursions. And we go to a restaurant in the resort. So we thought we were safe because it's like at the resort, and we're eating food, we're eating dinner. And then after we finish dinner, we go back to our hotel room, go to bed, and Josiah wakes up probably around midnight to 1, and he just starts vomiting everywhere. Like it was very we stayed up for that whole night because every hour vomit, and then he would like dry heave a lot, and then he would, I mean, you can explain.
Yeah, it was bad.
And it was like loud, like very loud. And I'm like, oh my word, it's just food poisoning. Like he got food poisoning.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it was food poisoning, but it was Bali belly, which is common for Americans because we're not used to the water and their like how they sanitize their food. Even though we were at a resort, he still had some meat that night that was medium rare.
Yeah, it's kind of my fault. I'm such a foodie, so as soon as I got there, I was like, I'm gonna try everything.
Yep.
And in the resort, they had like this really cool like steak meal.
It looked good. It really did, but
and I even offered her some, which thank the Lord she didn't try.
Anyways, so it was really bad. I had called multiple different nurses because I was like, at that time I was like, this is more than just food poisoning. Like he was just like,
it was rough. I was next to the toilet all night, actually like day and night.
Like I was like, you don't look like Josiah. It was very scary for me because I'm like calling my mom, I'm calling his mom. I'm like, guys. So I end up,
and you're only on day 3.
Yeah, literally.
13.
And we had just gotten married, so I'm like, wow, this is marriage.
Sickness.
I know, that's right.
So we ended up like calling Balinese nurse to come in and examine Josiah, and she was like, yes, it's just a severe case of Bali belly. So we
really dehydrated.
So we got him on the full like 9 yards of the stomach relaxers, probiotics, antibiotics. Like we got him on nausea medicine. We ended up getting him an IV to like replenish everything he had lost. So he was like strapped up and taking all these meds for probably about another full day of recovery. So 1 full day of puking.
By full day, she means like full day.
Full
like
day. At the top of
like every 30 minutes or an hour. Yeah, it was
I was timing it because I was just like, yeah, I couldn't eat anything. It was really sweet though, because everyone at the Palma Resort, since it's secluded, and I feel like everyone, they try and know you by name when you stay there. I was going to breakfast and these lunches and these dinners alone because Josiah was resting and trying to recover. So they're like, Mrs. Nisley, was your husband? And I was like, oh, he's very sick. And so it spread like wildfire that my husband was sick. And so they sent us flowers to our room every day. Like someone was dying. I'm like, oh, wow, this is really sweet. And they were like checking in on us. They were so kind. But yes, it's just, you have to be so careful because the street food, obviously but then even just if it's raw to uncooked resort food, like us as Americans, we're just not used to their methods of preparing their food. So thankfully I didn't get it because I probably would have been way more dramatic than he was. Like I thought he was pretty bad, but knowing myself, it would have been horrible.
You would have been like, send me home.
Yeah, I would have been like, just get me on a flight back. But yeah, we made it through that. We had to cancel a couple things. That was sad because I didn't really know how long you were going to be like that. But really, I'd say if anyone does come down with Bali belly, take the IV. The IV, like that was a night and day difference for you.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I just wanted to like tough it out, but eventually when I realized my vitals were not good and I was really dehydrated, I was like, and I couldn't keep things down, I realized I needed to take an IV. So
then we were very careful from that point forward. We got that out of the way at the beginning. So for the rest of the trip, we were just like, okay, how is this being washed?
Literally, next day at breakfast, they had this amazing, like immaculate spread of food for breakfast. And so the next morning after, we like had like bread and like water, and that was it.
Oh, basically, we're terrified, but then we eased back into it.
It was just funny in contrast to the first day where I'd gone up there, my plate, I got like 3 different plates of the most exotic foods they had.
Well, that is so amazing that they took such great care of you, though. I think that speaks a lot to like their culture too.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any fun food while you're there after that?
Oh yeah,
we did. Do you want to talk? He's such a foodie, so I was more like, I'll take the fruits and acai bowls and like yeah, like the Asian dishes, but he like pushed me to try a lot of new stuff. So, do you have any foods that you remember?
Yeah, nasi
Goro.
goreng or something like that. That was a really popular dish. It's just like rice and chicken and some different spices. For breakfast, they had this like um this whole bar of like all these local ingredients that is very common for them. And so I always got that. I think it was like pork belly and like all these other oddball ingredients, but it was really good. And then they had obviously at the resorts some other like international foods, so like Japanese food or American food. So we ate that from time to
Yeah,
time as
there's a
well.
good plethora of like different, like, because we were Americans, sometimes we just wanted a burger and fries. And
Yeah.
honestly, that kind of segues me into the fact that we found a McDonald's, Sarah, and we were like raving McDonald's. We were eating like all these spicy foods, like this, and we were just like, oh my word, let's just Uber to a McDonald's and like get everything that we
We
can.
did, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes all you need is like some taste
Some
of
home,
home.
yeah.
And even their McDonald's was so like their menu there was so different. Like they had made
Yeah.
me like a matcha coffee drink, and it was like better than any like Starbucks or like really nice
It was
coffee I've
good.
ever had. I'm like, this is McDonald's, and they're doing like
Hmm.
this like latte art stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then we had just like normal. We did have American food, but
Yeah. The fruit there was really good. So at our first resort, they had like they called it an agroforest. So some of the produce that they provided in-house, they grew themselves. And they give a tour of their gardens for us one of the days because it's pretty big.
yeah,
And that was soon after I'd been sick. So I didn't get to try some of the food because I was afraid I wouldn't keep down the citrus.
yeah.
But she got to try,
It's called miracle
yeah,
fruit.
miracle fruit.
Have you ever heard of it?
Uh-uh.
So it's like this fruit that kind of looks like a pear almost, and
Okay.
you take a lemon. So he had me take a sour lemon, and I was like, okay. So I ate the lemon, then you eat the fruit, and it changes the flavor of whatever fruit you had. So it changed the whole flavor of the lemon to something I've never tasted
It was really
before.
cool.
And so I
Interesting.
Magic.
kept eating the lemon, then I kept eating like a little bite of the miracle fruit that they're growing, and it completely changed the lemon to like a whole different fruit that I'd never tasted. I was like, just I wish you could taste this, because he was still like being cautious
Yeah.
from his Bali belly. But
So you had the lemon and then you ate the miracle fruit and then you ate the lemon again and it tasted
it tasted
different.
completely different.
That is
It
so
wasn't
cool.
even sour, it wasn't tangy. It was like a whole new fruit. And I'm like, wow, this is great.
That is so
Yeah,
interesting.
their
I've
fruits,
never heard of
yeah,
that.
their fruits and vegetables, just amazing. Like
Really good.
guava, we had a bunch of guava juice, dragon fruit, like
Uh-huh.
we loved their fruits and vegetables. Just be careful how they're washed, but yeah.
Well, I've heard in general, Bali is like a very like health and wellness, holistic
Yes.
area of the world. Did you guys do any like holistic, any even like spa days,
Yeah,
yoga,
yes.
We did
anything?
both of those.
So when we first
Nice.
landed there, one of the first days, we actually got like a full body Balinese massage. It was wonderful. And then we did a yoga class because I was like, I really want to do a yoga class, Josiah. Please do it with me. So we did, and it wasn't just any yoga class. This was an aerial yoga. So like this tiny, very flexible, contortion Balinese man was strapping us into all these like hanging ropes, and then we were doing like flips and like crazy stretches. And I look back at Josiah, and he's like tangled in these ropes. He's like brow sweating. He's like trying to stretch, but like it was rough for him. I enjoyed it
Yeah.
because it was just so like it was fun. It was new. He was amazing at it. So he's thinking that all of us are like advanced. So he's like twisting our
Amazing.
bodies
Yeah.
for us.
It's supposed to be big. It was supposed to be beginner aerial yoga. It's like
But he was like, yeah, Karris, let's put your leg over your neck. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this. So yeah,
Like my leg doesn't go that way.
I'm gonna flip you 360 degrees.
yeah.
Like, oh,
So that was really fun. But it wasn't like the meditation or like yoga that I thought that we were going into. They did other yoga classes too, but that one was, I'm so
So
glad we did
funny.
it.
yeah.
Did you like the massage?
Yes, it was like a full body. They did like kind of lymphatic a little bit on our stomachs, and they did like all like down our legs. I felt like it was a really nice massage, and everything's so cheap. So like we were in there for probably an
Hour.
hour for a massage, and it just like the prices compared to like me going to my massage therapist here, I'm like, this is great.
I have heard if you can get to Bali, it's super
Yep,
cheap.
Yep,
that's true.
And that's why so many
that's
people go
exactly
for
right.
such a long time
hmm
because, okay, it takes a lot of money, especially from the US, to get
Hmm.
over
Yep.
there.
And that
But then
was
once you're there, it's going to be cheaper than most
right.
trips.
And that was our biggest expense was those plane tickets. Once we were there,
Mhm.
it was like, yeah, like you can vacation there for close to nothing.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would recommend for people to do differently than you did,
That's a good
either in the
question.
planning process or like when you were actually
hmm
there?
What do
Um,
you think, Josiah?
it's a good question. I got to think about this.
I do have a little this or that, so we can do that,
Perfect.
and then we can go
Yeah, let's
back
go back.
to
Okay,
any
that'd be
advice you
great.
want to
Yeah.
give people, good or
Yeah, yeah.
bad. Okay, so this or that, Bali
Okay.
edition. And your answers can be different from each
Okay.
other.
I'm excited.
Jungle or beach?
I'm gonna say jungle.
Jungle.
Even though you got sick in the jungle.
Yeah. No,
It's still so beautiful.
it's still beautiful.
Less crowded.
Okay, Balinese coffee or Balinese tea?
I like the tea better.
Coffee, I think. They had some really good coffee.
Not the cat poop
Yeah.
coffee.
None of that, please.
I'd say coffee.
Okay, massage or aerial yoga?
Massage.
Ooh, aerial yoga for me.
Catamaran or ATV?
Catamaran
Yeah, probably catamaran.
Okay, and then miracle fruit or McDonald's matcha?
Gosh, Sarah, that's hard. Because I feel like if I say McDonald's matcha, that's like too basic. Like, come on, Karris, you went to Bali. So I'm gonna say miracle fruit.
Yeah,
But he never tried
I
it.
never tried it, so probably miracle fruit if
He's
I.
like
Yeah,
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Seriously.
That's amazing. Well, any advice you want to give, either things that you're like, you have to do this or you have to plan this way, or on the other side of like, don't make the mistake we made besides eating
Yeah.
the rare meat.
Yes. I'd say I would really encourage other travelers to do both the jungle and the beach. A lot of people go there just for the beach, and I think the beach is pretty, but unless you're going or you're staying on Nusa Penida Island, I feel like you just have to get the jungle experience. Like, it's beautiful, and all the animals and the birds, and just, yeah, up in Ubud was like, there's a really good nightlife too. So there's a bunch of fun, like, little clubs and restaurants that you can just venture out on your own. Like the one Airbnb that we stayed at that was in the jungle, but then we could walk to the nearest town. That was just like the perfect in between because it wasn't a resort. It's like what we were doing and we were at an Airbnb, and Airbnbs are so cheap there. Like if you look on the app, it's like, wow, some of these like giant treehouse type looking homes, just for like, $15 to $20 a night. So it's just like, I would
We
really
spent a lot more than
encourage,
that,
yeah, we
yeah.
stayed there a little longer, but I would just encourage doing like not just the beach. I think that's such a popular thing, but also like trying Airbnbs and trying, the nightlife of the city and in Ubud. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would advise, or I guess be aware of arriving there, is one, social media is not always reality. So some of it is, right? Like there are these beautiful places. It's amazing. We're so happy that we went. But also you do have the long lines and you do have very busy streets. And a lot of times, like for the Airbnbs or for the resorts, the images they post are real, but it's only, one side of the resort, or it's
But
just a very small
surrounding
sliver,
it.
but surrounding it, it's not. So
Yeah.
do read reviews. That was the biggest thing that I think I did try to do. And so going to the like locations, even in the second resort, like the bathroom wasn't amazing, but that was like the only thing I read in the reviews that people are like, the plumbing's not great. So like if you do your research and you have a large sampling of reviews, then I recommend really doing that. It's just to get an idea of.
And a lot of times your reflection is based on what you expected. So you're not disappointed. Like you knew going in that the bathroom was not going to be great. If you thought it was going to be this perfect plumbing, then you would have been really disappointed.
Yeah.
But you weren't disappointed because you knew what you were walking into,
Yeah.
which I think is really important when you're
Yeah.
traveling.
So that was the one thing. Just be aware of it's not always what it seems online, the photos. And then two is cash. We did not come prepared with cash, and so we ended up stopping at an ATM along the way, which worked out. Our driver was willing to do that, but like literally we were 30 minutes in Bali, and all of a sudden we're at this random like pull off gas station. And I'm like, I don't even know, we could barely get it to work. We eventually did. So
Yeah, Just, yeah, and also with like making payments too, just make sure that you open your cards for international travel. Like we got to talk to a lot of our different banks beforehand, just because like they'll flag it as like scam. And then also just carrying the physical money is a lot better than
and a lot of times, a lot of people don't even know that you can request from your bank bills in whatever country you're going to ahead of time. Most of the time, if you give them enough heads up, they can get their hands on it for you, and that saves you a lot of money. Now you have to travel with a lot more money, which is always a risk in its own. But then you're not having to pay the fees when you get over there. You end up having to pay a lot more money to transfer it over there, usually.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really great tip.
Yeah.
Do you guys, I was wondering as you guys were talking, do you guys regret packing everything you guys did? Or
this is a great question, because I was just talking about this, because like packing as in our luggage. Yeah, because I was like, you think of Bali, you think of tropical, you think of like hot like weather. And honestly, there were days where I'm like, I didn't pack sweatshirts or sweatpants. I packed shorts, tank tops, swimsuits. Like, I think I packed one long sleeve, like kind of cover up type thing, because I was just expecting like August heat, but then in Bali, like, but it was like 70s, like sometimes lower 60s, and in the jungle, specifically more in the jungle. And it was like, man, I should have brought a sweatshirt or sweatpants or jeans. So like, definitely, I know it's Bali and you think Bali tropical, and it is, but yeah, it can get colder. At least it was.
Did you end up shopping?
I ended up just using some of just I had my whole checked bag, but I still used his stuff. So we made it through, and when we moved to the beach, Ayodhya Resort, it was like a lot hotter at that side of the island, just because of the water. So we were fine there, but in the jungle, it does get pretty cold.
She forgot her sandals, and so it was this big ordeal when we first arrived.
So sad, Sarah. I literally unzipped my bag and like putting my stuff in the closet, and I'm like, my sandals. I forgot tennis shoes, and I brought these kind of like shower shoes, but I didn't have any sandals. Like I had nice sandals. I had high heels, but I was like
I came to Bali and I don't have my sandals.
Yeah, so that was very sad. So just make sure you remember your sandals. But yeah, no, I think we packed pretty well. We just packed a bunch of swimsuits. Like you live in your swimsuits, and even like cover ups.
I follow a couple content creators that live there full time. Do you follow the Wayfarers?
No,
do you know who that is?
I don't, but I should.
Okay, you need to look her up. She's so cool. Her name is, I think her actual name is Alexandra Saper.
Okay.
Or something like that. And so I follow her and some of her friends, and they all like live in swimsuits all the time. And I'm like, do you really walk around the whole city? And they do.
Yeah, they do. And we can confirm we were in our swimsuits pretty much every day, all day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything you guys want to plug, your socials or anything before we go?
I mean, you can plug my
Mostly
social. I have some like Bali stuff on there, but I'm hoping to post more this next year. So it's just at Karris, Karris, and then Nissley, Nissley. And that's on Instagram.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, guys, that is the episode with Karris and Joe on Bali. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. They were so sweet and had such great helpful, practical information, as well as some fun stories about Bali. I did forget to ask them on the podcast where to next, which is something I love asking each and every one of my guests. So I did text Karris and she said they are going to Italy next. So I'm really excited to see their travels. Definitely give her a follow and follow along on their adventures. While you're at it, make sure you're following us on all platforms, How Was Your Trip Podcast. And if you want to email me any questions or comments, you're more than welcome to at howwasyourtrippodcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you're subscribing, following so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes, and I will see you guys again soon.